I'm Isaac Sims.
I'm Olivia Clement.
And this is Flyover Film Country, a film podcast hosted by residents of Arkansas, here in Oklahoma there, bringing in perspective somewhere between the average moviegoer and your cousin enrolled in his sophomore year of film school. We want everyone to know that the movies are great, and we're building a community of film fans in Flyover Country.
That's right. And today we are discussing Kyle Mooney's second film, Y2K, a horror comedy set at the turn of the century, hence the name Y2K. And later in the episode, we're going to be breaking down the Superman trailer. So it's not something we usually do, but we are both super pumped for the Superman movie that's coming out next year.
Super pumped.
So, super duper.
We get to decide how to program our show, so
that's right. And
Just
if
kidding.
you don't like it,
Thanks for listening.
please tell us what you would like to see differently or hear differently.
Please, we welcome all feedback. We're on social media. And
Right.
you may have our cell phone numbers.
Most likely you do.
I have a question. Did you know that I didn't know that what Y2K meant until like just a couple of years ago? That,
I did not.
Specifically the phenomenon and like the not the phenomenon, but the urban legend or fear that like things were just going to go haywire at the turn of the century.
Oh,
I didn't know about that until recently.
oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a big deal. It was real. People were really scared. My my cousin's mom, who is not the parent I'm related to. His dad is my mom's brother. But his mom and her family were super worried about it. Like so worried about it that her parents got apparently like did basically this like crazy like bunker shelter situation and stockpiled it with food and like all this stuff because they were so worried about what was going to happen with Y2K.
Y2K. What were you doing? What do you think you were doing Y2K? I kind of remember, I think I remember like where I was actually. We were really young, but I think I remember.
Kindergarten. That was kindergarten from NU, I assume, too, for me.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't really remember a whole lot of what I was doing. I do remember that my elementary school made t-shirts that had our like little mascot, which we were the Emerson Bearcats. And so it had a little Bearcat on it, and it said, and I think it had the same logo on the back, but it said underneath the Bearcat, "I survived Y2K." And I'm almost positive my mom still has a shirt somewhere.
Really?
So yeah, but
all right, we want to see it on the next episode.
A whole lot. I might look into it, see if I can find it. What were you doing? What do you remember?
I think I'm conflating two things. I remember the Janet Jackson Super Bowl because we were really young when that happened too, and I think I'm conflating being at a friend's house.
Did you watch that live?
I don't remember that happening, but I remember everyone going crazy whenever. Wait, or maybe it was. I don't remember. Did Prince ever do the Super Bowl before he died?
He did. Also, the Janet Jackson thing happened in 2004. So.
Okay, so yeah, and I don't think
I did watch that live though.
When did Prince do the
shocked
Super Bowl halftime? Let me look real quick.
Let's see, Prince Super Bowl.
Because I think that's what I'm thinking of.
It was 2007.
So I probably don't even remember. Really? Dang. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Y2K is, you haven't seen Brigsby Bear, have you? Brigsby Bear is Kyle Mooney, the SNL, I don't even know, like, he's one of the most unique, I think he's like one of the most unique comedic sensibilities, him and Tim Robinson, to like come out of SNL in recent years, like in the last decade or so. Yeah. And he has kind of started doing his own thing, but A24 wanted to make a movie with him. But a couple of years ago, he made a movie called Brigsby Bear that has been in my watch list since 2017. Okay, so he started it, but he didn't direct it. So this truly is his first movie. I thought that he
Okay.
directed it for some reason, but anyway. Anywho, so you have not seen Brigsby Bear, correct?
I'm not. No. Tell me about it.
I haven't seen it either. Let's move on. Y2K.
So tell me about Y2K.
I like this movie. Did you like it?
I really liked it.
Yeah, I had a great time.
It. It's fun. Let's tell them the premise of the movie. Synopsis, if you will.
Okay. You tell us the synopsis.
All right. So, 2 high school nobodies decide they're going to crash the last major celebration before the new millennium on New Year's Eve, 1999, which Isaac and I, well, you, I guess, weren't. I was 6. You were still 5 in 1999. So we would have been a wee lass and laddie. The night becomes even crazier than they could have ever dreamed of, because when the clock strikes midnight, Y2K actually happens, and there's a massive, I guess, like virus.
Robo-apocalypse, really.
Yeah, robo-apocalypse. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
All the machines become infected.
Yeah.
And they're killing the humans.
They're just killing them. So that's Y2K. That's the premise of Y2K.
Y2K stars Jaden Martell, and Rachel Zegler, and Julian Dennison. Julian Dennison was Firewatch in Deadpool 2. He has fire powers. And he's Ricky Baker, my favorite performance of his, in Hunt for the Wilder People. Ricky Baker, oh, Ricky Baker, oh, Ricky Baker. We always do that. It's such an easy little ditty to like fill in someone's name. So we'll do like, Sandor, you are 3 years old. You're a little kitty and your heart is made of gold. Little Sandor. So, yeah, this is the first movie since Deadpool 2, big movie I think that Julian Dennison has been in. And he and Jaden Martell play Danny and Eli, respectively. And the movie starts with them. They're just going to play video games, hang out, but it's Y2K, and then they get the bravery to like, they chug a little vodka in a really funny scene, and they get the bravery to go to a party where Julian Dennison just steals the show. And that's kind of how the movie starts. And up through that scene and the Robo-apocalypse, I was like, this is so fun. This is so good. And I hope it keeps this energy the whole time. What do you think?
So I think what Julian Dennison is so good on this, and I agree with you. He steals the show. And do we want to go into spoilers right off the bat, or okay?
You know what? Walter would be really proud of us, but of course he's not on this podcast because we got right to the point. We're staying on task, and we're less than 10 minutes in here, and we're about to hit the warning spoilers section. So if you haven't seen Y2K, we're about to spoil things. So as far as who dies, who makes it, who doesn't. So
who dies,
Olivia,
who lives, who tells their story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So
take us away.
So after the clock strikes midnight, all hell breaks loose, right? The Robo-apocalypse happens, and everyone's of course freaking out. And it's a bunch of drunk high schoolers at a giant house having this like complete freak out. And our boy Julian, unfortunately, does not make it. And he talks some sense into what is Jaden Martell's character's name?
Eli, I think.
Eli. He talks some sense into Eli, his boy Eli, and is like, hey, you need to like kind of pull yourself together. And he also gives him the pep talk that he needs, I think. He's just a good friend. And it was really cool to see that as he's like dying.
He's standing against the wall, and there's like a saw blade that just like comes straight through his heart. So
Right. Yeah.
big sad.
It is
Too
sad.
bad.
And I think the build up to that point in the movie is so much fun. And I realize it like needs to be fun because then it makes the kind of shock value of his death and like how whatever happens in the second half of the movie all the more just that shocking.
Hmm.
But it makes me really sad that they killed him off so early because it's like
I really think, yeah, and I think that's a good way to like start this conversation, or like start this abridged conversation, because we're getting into Superman. We won't be able to talk about this movie the whole time, but that is really when I was like, okay, he's dead.
Mhm.
Like, and it wasn't more of like that character, like that character's really funny. That character sings thong song. Like
Classic.
at the top of his lungs and steals the, like, everybody thinks he's super cool. He kind of picks up a girl and looks like he's going to get a kiss her at midnight, leaving Eli kind of in the dust. And you feel like all of the momentum in the movie just kind of like leaves with him. So like killing him off is like not a great movie choice. But then he shows up again later, like in the Robo-verse or like the Webiverse, doing the thong song again, and I was just like laughing so hard during that was like right before the credits or like into the credits, I think.
Yeah,
Wasn't
they
it?
had like started rolling credits and then it like kind of interrupts it, and you're like, oh, what's gonna? Because the way it ends, I'm sorry, we're all over the place.
Oh yeah, we're jumping all
Just
around.
bear with us. The way it ends is like it almost kind of ends on a little teaser of a cliffhanger of like, oh, is it actually not gone? And then the credits roll and then it's like interrupted and he shows up again and starts doing a whole rendition of thong song, and it's so funny.
And there's like horrible graphics and
it's like,
oh my gosh,
like
it's so funny.
Straight up like 1999 graphics. It's amazing. But I do think it kind of takes the momentum out of the movie whenever he dies, and it's no longer, I'm not as engaged. And I think part of it is we really like Julian Dennison in general from Deadpool and Hunt for the Wilder People. Like, we really like him in those movies. And so I think, tell me if I'm wrong, for both of us, it was just disappointing to see him die so early.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like, okay, he's gone. What's going to happen next? And then what happens next is just not as interesting or fun as the first half of the movie. They run into, well, the very beginning of the movie is actually Eli on is it AOL Messenger? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Can you tell that we were not teenagers in 1999?
We were not, but that is what he was on. He was on AOL. You did not have AOL?
I did not. Did you?
No, I did not have AOL. I did have Hotmail at one point.
Okay.
So I don't know what it was about the kids in Duncan. We just had Hotmail instead. I don't know if AOL was a thing in 2006 or like how big of a thing it was.
Yeah, SBC Global was a big thing. Like a bunch of my friends had that. I didn't have that, but yeah, a bunch of my friends did.
Yeah. So but anyway, so Eli is hitting up hot babes all day.
He's literally chatting up hot babes all day. Yeah.
All day. No, he's just hitting up Rachel Zegler, whose character's name is Laura.
Laura.
Is hot, so.
She's very attractive.
So it makes sense.
You know how you can change things on Letterboxd, the posters and the backdrops? I changed both of mine to her because the scene where they run into her later on in the day before they go get snacks. They go hang out with Kyle Mooney. He plays he just like works at a video store that they go to all the time. And he's a stoner.
He's a big stoner.
Big stoner. He's really funny. And after that, they smoke weed with him. Julian Dennison does. They go to the gas
Eli
station. They
Douglas.
run into they run into Rachel Zegler's character, and they steal a bunch of her and her friends steal a bunch of alcohol. And as they're running away, they have that moment of Jaden Martell, Danny looking at her like just longingly, like, oh, this is like the most beautiful girl in that world. And she's very beautiful in that, like, just run away, like, and it clocked with me. I was like, she has like one of the best smiles of like anyone working in Hollywood. It's just very pure and very, very lovely. So yeah.
Also, what I love about that particular scene, and maybe we can segue from here to the soundtrack, is it's a Goo Goo Dolls song.
And I give up forever to touch you. Yeah. Do you want to know something else about me as it pertains to the soundtrack in this movie? We're not really great.
Like those songs.
I knew Iris, and that was it.
Okay.
And
that was the only song you knew?
I don't think, to my recollection, I had ever heard the thong song until that movie.
That's crazy.
But
we had such different childhoods.
As we know, I was very sheltered. And what was it? You and I were texting earlier this week, and it was about Twilight. Yeah.
About Twilight, because I was talking about how it's got. Speaking of soundtracks, I was like, it's got such a good soundtrack, and you were like, okay. And I said, you haven't seen it, and you said no. And I was like, with all of your sisters, they didn't make you watch that, and then you said,
I was very sheltered.
Said, like, I know this may shock you, but I was not allowed to watch it, or it was not allowed in my house.
Yeah, was not allowed in my house.
So,
and then you said, that was not that surprising. So
yeah.
Anyway, I knew Iris, and that was basically it. But I loved all the other songs.
That's crazy. It has. I'm going to read off some of the songs on the soundtrack, and for other people who weren't as sheltered as Isaac, you may recognize them. So we had "Lit's My Own Worst Enemy." We had Eiffel 65's "Blue," and that, I need everyone to know, that's one of my all-time favorite songs from childhood. Is it a good song? Probably not, but I loved it as a kid. We had Lenny Kravitz's "Fly Away." We had "Larger Than Life" by the Backstreet Boys. You didn't know that song?
I know that song.
Okay. "What's My Age Again" by Blink-182.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know Blink-182.
Yeah. Jumpin' by Destiny's Child. "Tearing Up My Heart" by NSYNC. "No Scrubs" by TLC. I listened to that earlier today, actually. Golly, it had so many good songs. I'm not going to list all of them because honestly, all of them are a banger.
What's the Limp Bizkit song that's
the Limp Bizkit song
featured in the?
Hold on, I'm trying to find it.
We hate you, Fred Durst. You suck, Fred Durst.
If we hate you, Fred Durst. That was really funny. So also, why is it not listed on here? I know it was a Limp Bizkit song that was featured. They talk about it.
You get like Fat Boy Slim.
What is the name? Hold on. It's one of their most popular ones. I gotta look it up.
Break Stuff.
Oh,
is
yeah.
Break Stuff
Yeah.
the song that they sing acoustic?
It's called Break Stuff. It's literally called Break Stuff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Limp Bizkit? Do you have thoughts on Limp Bizkit?
I really don't. And this is like incredible podcast material because I'm like, I like this movie. It was funny when they did the thong song, and it was kind of sad when Julian Dennison died. And then I have like no reference point. Like, I know who Fred Durst is. Fred Durst famously showed up in a pretty amazing like micro performance, I would say. And I Saw the TV Glow. And so I knew it was Fred Durst. I know who he is. And when he showed up in Y2K, I was dying laughing because he becomes a major part of the second half of the movie. Or like the final quarter, I would say. Yeah. But other than that, I'm like, don't get any of the references.
Okay. So,
take us away.
Yeah, if you don't know a whole lot about like what pop culture looked like in the 90s, this movie is not going to be nearly as funny to you, just like in general to anyone listening. But like Limp Bizkit was a very, very interesting band and very controversial for lots of reasons. And they kind of talk about this in the movie of kind of being rap, but not, it's like a rap rock. They're like, the genre that they are like most typically defined as is nu metal. I don't even know really how to describe what like nu metal is. I'm gonna see if nu metal is a genre that fuses many different sonic elements, including heavy metal and alternative rock.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, Limp Bizkit's such a weird band, but something that they're like also often associated with is oh my gosh, what is that giant music festival? They did it in the 60s and they did it in the 90s.
The Vans Warped Tour?
No, not Vans. Vans, not Warped Tour.
I've heard
Woodstock,
that
that's what it was.
Limp Bizkit?
Limp Bizkit was in they were a headliner for Woodstock in the 90s, like whenever they brought it back.
Okay.
I think it may have been 99, honestly. But how much do you know about that Woodstock?
That Woodstock was like a cluster, right? Like so many things went wrong, right?
So like Woodstock happened in the 60s and it was like this beautiful like hippie peace and love movement stuff. And then in the 90s it was the definition of a cluster, and it was so chaotic, like and part of it was because of like I don't think Limp Bizkit was like wanting it to happen, but they were riling up their fans, and it was also like there's a documentary on Netflix on it if anyone really wants to see like how chaotic it was. It was like poorly planned. There was not enough like toilets,
the original Fire
or
Island.
like it's no Fire Island or Fire Festival or whatever. It was no that. But it was poorly planned. They didn't have enough like porta potties or toilets for people. There was like no clean water. It was just chaotic. And so when people are super sleep deprived and like, you know, doing all sorts of drugs and all sorts of things, they become pretty feral. And so what ended up happening is like they started rioting essentially, and like setting things on fire and like destroying the stage, and it was so crazy. I really didn't know how bad it was until I watched this documentary a few years ago, and they were the bands that was there and headlining it. Limp Bizkit was a huge band in the 90s.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's why it's another reason why, like in the movie, you see these characters that are going back and forth about whether or not Limp Bizkit is a good band, and I feel like maybe the closest to like our generation's understanding of that is like Linkin Park, probably.
Yeah, but Linkin Park was like a little more like reserved or like toned down, under control, I guess, is like, because I know Linkin Park. Yeah,
in some ways they were more toned down. In other ways, because like Chester Bennington, who he had a lot of issues, he had a lot of substance issues, but I remember watching an interview where he was like, yeah, I used to like drink a fifth before every concert, which is insane.
Yeah.
So he would be like just wasted before performances and stuff like that. And then he got sober, and that was better, obviously. But so in some ways they were more reserved, in other ways like they weren't. But okay, well, I was going to talk about the soundtrack with you, but I guess if you recognize like 3 songs.
This is why I suggested we devote part of the episode to another another topic. One of my thoughts that I thought I would share with you is that Jaden Martell looks like Christopher Nolan.
He does.
He looks like a young baby Christopher Nolan.
He really does. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's insane.
I was like, I gotta, because like I have like 3 people in my life who would understand that reference or like appreciate it, or not reference, but like I was like, who does he? And I was like, he looks like Christopher. I was driving home from the movie and I was like, he looks like Christopher Nolan. That's anyway. But
So, okay, I do have a question for you. What do you think about Jaden Martell as an actor? Like, he's been in a few things now, and so I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on him? Just overall.
I honestly, like, I think he plays like, he's gonna have to work pretty hard to get out of, you know, this thing he's stuck in, like the troubled or emotional damaged sensitive kid. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's ahead for him. He nails it here, and he's only 21 years old, so he's like, he's getting he's very okay. So I was gonna say he's very either short or very or that Rachel Zegler's very tall, but they're both like exactly 5'7". So it turns out that Rachel Zegler's because they're like the exact same height in a certain scene, and I was like, huh, like I guess he's not that tall, but yeah, no, I like him. And I think he kind of nails this. I think he's really funny, and he like does kind of work as the heartbeat, emotional thing of the movie. Him and Rachel Zegler's character, but that's not really what the movie's interested in. And I wish the movie had just like, hey, we're just gonna do crazy stuff, more kills, more like, you know, less walking through the woods. And I wish there had been a lot more energy in the second half. And you just lose it when you take Julian Dennison away. So,
right.
What do you think about Jaden?
I like him. I do agree. Like, and here's the deal. I think that some actors do want to be typecast, and I think if you can do it and make a living out of it, by all means, go for it. I mean, I think, you know, like I think about this with like guys who show up in a lot of like mafia movies or mobster type stuff. Like, they're the same guys, you know, or any of the actors who are like that one guy in the one thing, you know, like you don't know their name necessarily, but every time that you show up, you're like, yeah, this guy plays this character. Here he is. And so some actors, I think, want that and are cool with that. Other actors obviously are not and try really hard to get out of that. And I think it's hard to get out of that if you don't want it. And I think if you're a child actor, it's really hard to get out of it. And so, but you're right, he's really young. I think there's a lot of things he could do in the future that will hopefully get him out of that like typecast. Because
like
you're
the
right.
kid in
One
Knives
thing
Out,
that is
like,
yeah, I was about to say,
I don't want that for
exactly
him.
what I was going to bring up. Yeah. So, and being in a movie like Knives Out, I think really bodes well for his resume and that kind of thing. So hopefully that will like get him out of like be something that works for him or in his favor. But yeah, so that's what I think about him. I feel like I haven't seen him in a whole lot, but I know he's like kind of a young name that I think could be in a lot more things in the future. Yeah. So
should get him in Young Avengers, you know.
But honestly, yeah.
Speaking of superheroes,
are we segueing to Superman now?
I was going to. Would you recommend people see Y2K, especially if they're?
I would.
A millennial.
Yeah. I think especially if you're an older millennial, I think you'll appreciate it a lot more than us younger millennials. And this was one more thing I was going to say about the cast. Like, Alicia Silverstone shows up as Eli's mom. And for those of you who don't know who that is, she plays Cher in the classic quintessential millennial movie Clueless, which truly, I genuinely believe this.
She smokes weed. That part's really funny.
Yes. That Clueless is genuinely, I think, one of the greatest movies of all time. And so
that's high praise.
So it was cool to see her. Thank you. I am so brave.
I said that's high praise. It was cool to see her.
Oh, I thought you said you're so brave.
You're so brave.
So superheroes.
Cool. Superheroes. What do you think about the Superman trailer?
I'm very excited about the Superman trailer. I was not
It's pretty
sure
cool.
how I felt about it. Not sure how I was gonna feel about it based on the one picture they like released. I don't know, 6 months ago with him like getting his boots on. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that vividly, and we were like, I was like, I don't know. It's like too early to tell, but I kind of like the texture of
Yeah.
that suit. And you and Walter were like, this looks like garbage. And I was like, okay.
Yes. I was actively like, I think this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
I retract my statement. I think it's gonna be really good. We'll see.
Yep.
What do you think?
I got kind of emotional watching it.
Yeah, me too.
And I think the whole thing with the dog and
It
this
was the
sort of
dog.
it was the dog, honestly. It was like kind of a cheap move from our guy James Gunn, but still, like you can't watch this and be like, oh man, I don't care about crypto saving Superman. Like it's so cute, and it's so like it's cool because I was talking to a guy I work with about the trailer, and he was like, I don't know, I don't really care. And I said, this is weird that I feel this strongly about this because is Superman like important to you as a character or comic character?
No,
He's not
honestly,
for me either.
no. Which is interesting because he's like, he's one of the big three for DC. I mean, him, Wonder Woman, and Batman are like the big three for DC, and everyone knows who Superman is, and everyone can reference Superman. But he's never been that interesting to me, and I think this is something Hannah and I have talked about a lot when we talk about superheroes, specifically Superman, is that he is so good, he's so like pure that it's really hard to write that character well and in a way that he doesn't come off as like a goody two shoes or doesn't come off as like condescending.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was sharing today with my coworker was I feel like this is the perfect timing for James Gunn to make a movie like this because he's an established filmmaker. He's extremely sentimental, but he's also like older and a little bit wiser. And I think he's going to like have the right amount of pressure on like the gritty, violent stuff. Cause it looks like, I mean, like you see Superman he's like bloody in the beginning of the trailer. And so it's like, people are going to die. People are going to get hurt. But there's this just like heart behind it and I think he just knows how to like tell this story. And I was just like, I'm all in. Like I was kind of skeptical. I kind of knew that he would probably do a good job, but like after seeing the dog, I was like, it's just a bold choice too. Like we're going to put the dog in with the cape and y'all are going to have a great time. And I was like, all right, let's go.
Right. And I also think like David Coruscant, is that his name?
Coruscant, yeah.
Coruscant, who's playing Superman.
No, I was joking. Like Coruscant's like the planet in Star Wars.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing.
Corn Sweat.
Corn Sweat. You're telling me he's playing Clark Kent, who's from Kansas and lived on a farm. This is the guy that's playing Superman. That's amazing.
He does have the accent too. He's like, crypto, take me home. I was like, okay, he's got a southern accent. I love it. Southern Midwest or whatever.
Yeah. He was the one who advocated for the kind of like underwear on the outside of the suit, which I know that's not what it is. He's the one who advocated for it because he's like, we want Superman to be a figure that kids can trust and like care about and like feel safe with. And if he kind of has the like wrestler look to him, he's going to feel safe and not scary to children. And I thought that was a really interesting decision. And I really like it. I think I think is going to pay off. So, so you got emotional. You think because of the dog. I think also, and you just like replayed the trailer for us. So I think this also reminded me of it. The like little boy who's holding up the flag and is like saying Superman's name.
Superman.
Yeah. That I don't know what it was about seeing that little boy in this. Probably because we actively know there's like conflict in the Middle East going on right now, and I, anytime I see reports about it, it's always just the most horrific things. And so I think seeing that, it also made me get really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that really impacted me too.
Yeah. It's this sort of like he's going to be a symbol, and everybody's talked about how, or James Gunn has talked about how like Superman is supposed to represent the best of humanity, but we've kind of like made him like impenetrable, like all like he's been defined by his powers rather than his heart. And I think that kind of starting it, number one, going back to like, hey, this is gonna be like this is gonna be a Christopher Reeves performance because Christopher Reeves got it right. Like that's how Superman always should be. And it's not like you can't iterate and do new things and try new action and stuff. But when he's like bumbling around, I was like, he looks like an idiot. Like he looks like he's gonna like spill coffee on like important documents, and he looks uncertain, he looks fearful. And it was cool to see. And it got me super excited.
Yeah. What do you think of the suit? I know we've kind of talked about it already, but just overall, what do you think of the suit?
I like it. I really don't feel super strongly about, I think most of the decisions for costumes in James Gunn's movies are pretty good. I really like the third Guardians movie. I love those suits with like they're like the uniforms with the helmet or not the helmet, the it's like a crown or something. I forget exactly what, but like I love that look. I was cracking up at this part
Nathan Fillion
with Nathan Fillion, and I forgot that he was playing Guy Gardner. And Nathan Fillion famously and hilariously played what is it, the detachable kid, TDK, in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And dies like right in the game. And this was also giving like big, this guy is a douchebag and he's gonna die.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm like calling it right now. I think he's gonna like get killed and then replaced with Jon Stewart or someone else. Guy Gardner was the very first Green Lantern. Green Lantern weirdly is like my DC like my DC fixation. Cuz I read I don't know if I've told you about this, but like in high school senior year, I think I was like done with my classes and I read like a ton of Green Lantern. I just went to the library and I read Blackest Night and then a bunch of other stuff. And Blackest Night is pretty sick. Blackest Night's like a Endgame level, like a Secret Wars sort of thing where like they're black rings and they get on all of the heroes and it turns them into zombies and then it takes over the world. And so there's like a Green Lantern's a pivotal figure and then Adam is a pivotal figure. And so Hal Jordan's in that one. He's like the main Green Lantern. But it's cool that they're doing Guy Gardner, but also like he looks so goofy, like with this haircut, and he looks kind of, I don't know what he's doing here, but it kind of looks like he's doing something douchey.
He looks annoyed. Yeah,
he looks annoyed. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and Nathan Fillion was also in Guardians 3.
Yep.
So, I think he and James Gunn are just buddies, and which I think is cool. I always think it's cool when directors will like recast the same, like keep working with the same actors. I I think someone who does that really well, like Adam Sandler, he always has the same like group of guys in his movies. You always like, you know, you're going to see these guys. And so I think that's really cool. I think, I honestly, talking about Christopher Nolan, I think he's almost starting to become that way. Like, you know, Matt Damon has been in a couple of his movies, and Hathaway is going to be in his next movie, and you know, she's been in two other of his movies. So I think Christopher Nolan might start to move that way. It looks like Greta Gerwig has been working with Saoirse Ronan and our boy Timmy multiple times. So yeah. Anyway,
so I don't know. I'm excited. It'll be really fun, and it's, I don't know, like for the remaining time that we have, what do you think about like I watched this and I was like, I don't see how I could I just don't see how I could become this excited for the Fantastic Four trailer. And it's partially because it's like, well, James Gunn's left the Marvel stable and they don't have him anymore. And just the way like the lighting and all, it's like very clear lighting in the Superman trailer. Looks like a James Gunn movie, but it's like, it looks clear and it looks like a real story with brightness and not this like kind of slate that a lot of the Marvel movies have. So I was just kind of like
a very, very light sepia, like filter.
Gray, like concrete. Yeah. So I don't know. What did you think about that at all, or is my brain just like broken? Because I immediately was like, well, Fantastic Four is coming out like 2 weeks before that. So
here's what I think. I think like I think I'm optimistic for Fantastic Four. Like with the few things that they've put out, I've like been like, okay, we'll see. We'll see. I think when either one of these movie studios, I was gonna say franchises, I guess franchises, I think, okay, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna realize some of this is maybe not true whenever I say it. When one does well, I think the other can do well. I think James Gunn and Kevin Feige have a good relationship, and I don't, people want to pit them against each other because James Gunn left Marvel. That's a big deal. I'm like, whatever, who cares? But like Feige has like gone on to like set for Suicide Squad and all, like has gone and visited James Gunn as he's like made these other things. And so I what I hope happens is that as DC, Lord willing, you know, does well, Marvel can step up its game. And instead of like pushing out content for the sake of content, it's they like really stop and reflect and like try to do well and make something good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna like what Fantastic Four eventually, like that trailer. I don't know if I'm gonna like it when it eventually comes out. But again, I really like who they've cast for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And really intrigued by kind of what we know about it. And so I think I'm being hopeful and optimistic about it. And maybe I shouldn't, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I understand like kind of the thought you're having of, I have a hard time believing because of everything else Marvel's put out in the past couple of years.
Yeah. It's, you know, and I think that they were all, based on the images that we had seen of Fantastic Four, it looked like they were already moving in the right direction. All of this stuff with like all of the stills, I'm like, this looked really interesting, like cool set design. It looks like they're really going for a story and chemistry and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess the advantage that I think Superman definitely has over Fantastic Four is a lot more brainy and less like action, and it very well could use that to its advantage. Superman, like in the teaser, not in this trailer that we watched, but in the teaser, there's a very brief clip of him flying and it looks like a Top Gun shot. And James Gunn has said like Top Gun was a huge influence on this movie, Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
And I was like,
yes.
if they're going to do Flight, like Top Gun Maverick, this is going to be like the best movie of all time. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I got really, really psyched. So I'm very curious, very excited for July for those 2 episodes that we're going to do.
Yes, I think it'll be fun. I'm excited for it too. And here's the deal, like what I hope for with all of it is kind of going back to what we said at the top of this episode. We just, we want to love movies and we want other people to love movies. And I hope that what happens this next summer is we get some like good blockbuster summer hits that are fun and
a Barbenheimer,
enjoyable. Yeah. Enjoyable for all sorts of walks of life. And it's not just like, well, you have to watch all 25,000 movies and everything, which like I realize DC is also kind of doing that with their universe. I don't think it's going to be quite as like connected. It won't have to feel that connected like Marvel has felt. I hope that's what I'm hoping for, that you can kind of weave in and out as you want to. But yeah, I just hope we have some good superhero movies coming out this summer.
Yeah, should be fun. So, I'm excited. I think it'll be fun to talk about both of those. So
yeah.
Should we land this plane?
Let's hold on. I want to say you kind of with the way your hair is like falling, it kind of looks like Superman's little calic.
Little twit. His little calic. Yeah.
Well,
I gotta get my hair cut. It's like growing too much. It's like hard to. I don't like it. It doesn't matter what I do with it. I don't like the way it looks. So I need to cut it. So, yeah. But thank you. I appreciate it. So I look like a bumbling idiot. Per my words.
No, I said Superman. Episode. I did not say Clark Kent.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Got it.
Those are different. So.
Cool. Well, anywho, thank you.
Let's land this plane.
Let's just land this plane. Thank you for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you to Olivia for being a great co-host. Huge thank you to our friend and comrade, Walter Lau. He's the Guy Gardner Green Lantern of this podcast. Thank you, Walter, for producing this episode with that annoyed look on your face, just like Nathan Fillion has in the Superman trailer. Our
Classic.
art is by Macy Lunnis. Our music is by Corden Jocks. They're Little Rock artists and they're super cool. Go check them out. For our next episode, it's here. It's the one you've all been waiting for. It's Glicked, Gladiator 2 plus Wicked Part 1. They came out a couple weeks ago, but we've been doing extensive research. Wink, wink, to prepare for those. I still haven't seen Wicked. I need to go see it. But I'm really not motivated to see it by myself. So having a hard time
finding someone to see it with. No one mourns the Wicked.
Except the Glicked. Until then, farewell.